Adam22, coming to a homeless shelter near you soon. Don't take my word for it. Listen to Adam say it himself.
So there's something that I've been hiding from you guys. No Jumper is going broke.
But Adam may not even get the chance to sleep on the streets, as the lawsuit that has looming over his head for a while now may take him to jail first. Let me explain. The collapse begins. The shocking downfall of Adam22 became public knowledge in early April 2025 when he released a video confessing the dire financial state of his media company. Despite the considerable following No Jumper had amassed over the years, Adam22 made the startling admission that the business was effectively bankrupt.
So there's something that I've been hiding from you guys. No Jumper is going broke. How could we be going broke? Well, let's start here. We expanded too much during COVID at just about the exact moment that our revenue streams all took a hit. We hired a whole bunch of editors and other employees, and we bought a huge office building that cost us almost $4 million, thinking that the growth that we were experiencing during the pandemic was going to continue. And unfortunately, that did not happen.
This confession sent shockwaves throughout the hip-hop community. How could a platform with millions of monthly views across multiple channels be on the verge of financial ruin? The answer, as Adam22 painfully explained, was a combination of poor business decisions and catastrophic external events that had systematically dismantled his media empire. At the heart of No Jumper's financial collapse was a massively overpriced $4 million warehouse facility purchased at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. This investment was based on the flawed assumption that the exceptional growth experienced during lockdowns would continue indefinitely. Instead, viewership across all platforms plummeted back to pre-pandemic levels, while overhead costs remained at their inflated state. One No Jumper employee, Flacco, offered insights into this ill-fated expansion during a video addressing the company's downfall.
This is the price of doing business. You're gonna take risk and gamble, and some gambles don't work out. But when you look back, the gamble wasn't a dumb gamble. It was a gamble that actually made sense. No Jumper was doing something that no other hip-hop adjacent channels were doing. Every show on the network was doing like 300 to 200,000 views. Literally every show. This is at the end of the day. These are a cast of dudes that are no longer here, but yo, you see their views. And it didn't just stop at the end of the day. If you take a look at the No Jumper show, the No Jumper show was also doing 300,000, 200,000 views.
The situation worsened dramatically in March 2023 when a mass exodus of talent left No Jumper following a public falling out between Adam22 and one of the platform's most popular personalities, AD. As Flacco explained, the departure wasn't just about losing hosts, but about the bitter manner in which they left, which forced fans to choose sides.
The host leaving was a big deal, but it's the way they left that was a bigger deal. They left like it was tumultuous times, right? They were sort of pitting themselves against No Jumper because they left because AD felt like he was betrayed by Adam. AD felt like Adam, I guess, texting Lush and Josh that AD only has 4 jokes and he wanted to remove AD from off the show without talking to AD first, and then Lush essentially spilled the beans in the Discord and the fans knew about it before AD, so AD felt like, for the fans knowing that I'm being fired from this particular show before I knew I was being fired was wrong, so he left.
AD himself expressed his frustration in a video announcing his departure.
We put in our resignation papers today. We put in our resignation papers today, man. It's a new day and age. Yeah, man, we left the fort, man. No more AD at No Jumper.
AD from...
No more T-Rail at No Jumper.
No more Jumper.
No more Duno at No Jumper.
No more.
No more Smack at No Jumper.
Bye.
We gone, man.
Hey.
Shame on you.
Goodbye.
We gone, man. We are gone. We out of here.
Shame on you.
Out of here, man. And me personally,
Crazy, right? Oh, told you, cuz.
Me personally, I feel amazing, man.
Yes, sir, man. Clap it up for my boy,
Clap it up, man.
Yeah, no, clap it up for everybody in here, bro. Clap it up for you too, bro.
This talent drain resulted in an immediate loss of approximately 20,000 subscribers and a precipitous decline in viewership. The financial impact was so severe that Adam22 was forced to implement waves of layoffs, cutting numerous editors, hosts, and production staff to reduce costs. Just when it seemed the situation couldn't get worse, No Jumper was hit with what Adam22 described as 2 major L's that pushed the company from struggling to effectively bankrupt. The first was the inexplicable loss of No Jumper's Instagram account, which had been built over nearly a decade and represented a substantial source of revenue.
All that stuff hurt the business, but we were still solidly profitable. That is, until the last few months, where we experienced two major L's that we never could have seen coming. First, we lost the No Jumper Instagram. After almost 10 years of building it up and essentially no strikes on our account, we got taken down one day and we still have absolutely no idea why. We've had no luck getting it back despite being in contact with what seems like every Instagram recovery guy on the face of the planet. We were bringing in a very solid amount of cash monthly that was keeping us afloat via selling sponsored posts on the account, and that mostly vanished overnight.
According to Flacco, the mystery surrounding the Instagram deletion was particularly troubling, suggesting that No Jumper had made powerful enemies who were capable of permanently blocking their access to social media platforms.
The No Jumper Instagram mystery is one of the biggest mysteries on the internet right now, bruh. So No Jumper got his Instagram taken away. Now, I'm part of the social media team, so I can tell you No Jumper never had a strike. Things don't get taken down. We had no copyright violations, nothing at all. Everything was still up and perfectly running fine. But then one day the Instagram goes away. Now, there's a lot of things that could attribute to it, right? As you guys know, like the Unlocked guy who was doing the Instagram recovery team, he did an interview on No Jumper. Him and Adam got into it. He threatened to take away the Instagram, but then the feds picked him up. So we thought, the Instagram is good now, right?
The second catastrophic blow came in the form of a lawsuit filed by former employees Yuri Alimbayev, known online as Harmonious Yuri, and Riley Garcia in January 2025. The legal action filed in Los Angeles County Superior Courts accused No Jumper LLC, Adam Grandmaison, Josh Manheim, and Nicholas Hyams of workplace misconduct, including discrimination, harassment, and wrongful termination.
And second, in addition to that, we have been hit with a bullshit lawsuit from a former employee. Now, essentially everything in this lawsuit is completely fictional, and every lawyer that I've spoken to about it has described this as basically an extortion attempt, but it still cost us a ton of money already, and it's expected to cost us many hundreds of thousands of dollars to see this through to completion. It's insane to me that a person that we did so much for can just invent some grievances out of thin air and cost us this much money as a result. This person has literally lost every single friend that he used to have when he worked at No Jumper. His streaming career has completely tanked, and he even got kicked off the podcast that he left No Jumper to start. But somehow that's our reality, and we have to fight this rather than just give in to this piece of shit.
What made this lawsuit particularly devastating was its timing, coming when No Jumper was already financially vulnerable. Although Adam22 dismissed the allegations as completely fictional and characterized the lawsuit as an extortion attempt, the legal fees alone were projected to cost many hundreds of thousands of dollars. For a company already on the financial brink, this unexpected expense proved catastrophic. The irony of the situation wasn't lost on many observers, as Yuri had once been Adam22's protege, starting as an editor before working his way up to on-camera talent. The lawsuit represented a bitter end to what had once been a mentor-mentee relationship.
The employee who sued No Jumper was this guy called Yuri. Now, this is like the betrayal of the century. This is like E2 Brute. Like this is some scandalous stuff. So Yuri was essentially Adam's protege, right? Somebody who Adam molded into a content creator, who started off as somebody who was just hanging around the office, eventually got a job as an editor, and he sort of worked his way up and used No Jumper as kind of like a trampoline to get into his own thing. So Yuri left No Jumper initially. He left No Jumper because he did like a 30-day live stream, like a subathon, and he made like $20,000 to $30,000. So he thought he wanted to put more attention into his streams, right? He wanted to put more into his streams. So he left No Jumper for that reason. But then after he left No Jumper, I guess things didn't work out. So he decided he wanted to sue No Jumper.
As the lawsuit progressed, Adam22 implemented increasingly desperate measures to keep No Jumper afloat. These included closing the Melrose store, laying off multiple employees, and putting the $4 million warehouse up for sale with plans to move to a much smaller space. He even introduced new YouTube membership tiers, including a premium $100 option, in a last-ditch effort to generate revenue. The financial collapse of No Jumper would be devastating enough on its own, but Adam22's personal financial situation also began deteriorating rapidly. While he had maintained a substantial net worth estimated at around $4 million in early 2025, this cushion was quickly eroding due to mounting legal fees, business losses, and other controversies that had damaged his income streams. One particularly damaging episode occurred in February 2025, just months before No Jumper's financial troubles became public. Adam22 became involved in a cryptocurrency venture on the Solana blockchain that was later labeled a pump and dump scam by journalist CoffeeZilla. The cryptocurrency initially surged from a $500,000 market cap to $4 million before collapsing to around $100,000 after early investors sold their holdings. This debacle not only damaged Adam22's reputation, but potentially exposed him to additional legal liability, further straining his already precarious financial situation. As No Jumper's financial crisis deepened and Adam22's personal wealth continued to evaporate, rumors began circulating about more serious legal troubles on the horizon. These whispers would soon be confirmed in dramatic fashion, transforming what was already a catastrophic business failure into something far more ominous for Adam22's future. The federal investigation. As Adam22 struggled to keep No Jumper afloat amid mounting financial challenges and the damaging lawsuit from former employees, an even more serious threat was developing behind the scenes. On March 26, 2025, the situation took a dramatic turn when music executive Wack 100 made a shocking announcement during a podcast. Adam22 had been taken into custody by federal agents.
What's up, man? I just called my attorney. Try to get him down there so Adam don't be doing no telling, bro.
Man, they saying Adam locked up all on the blogs. What's going on?
They came and got him this morning, bro. They doubled back. They came by there. We try and have him out because he's supposed to go live today, right?
Yeah, he's supposed to go live at 4 p.m. And the crazy thing is, Adam texted me.
They're going to have him out by like 2:30. We can get him out by 2:30. He can still make it to the building.
This bombshell revelation sent the hip-hop media world into a frenzy. According to Wack 100, federal agents had arrived at Adam22's residence early that morning and taken him into custody. Though Wack 100 expressed optimism about securing Adam22's release in time for his scheduled live stream that afternoon, the very fact of his arrest signaled a frightening escalation of his troubles.
Well, no, he just said 2:30 at the latest, so I'm telling them, you know, I'm telling them ASAP. I don't want bro sitting there a second he don't have to, but they own him about something, bro. I don't know what they own him about, but they own him about something. And I don't know if they was trying to get something out of him, but I'm pretty sure come 4 o'clock, he gonna be here. My attorney assured me. They assured me that they're gonna definitely have him at 2:30 at the latest. So he'll be here at 4 o'clock. I'm pretty sure he's gonna have a lot to say.
The arrest was reportedly connected to a Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, RICO, case involving Eugene Big U Henley, a prominent music executive and former gang leader. This wasn't the first time federal agents had shown interest in Adam22. They had previously visited his residence in connection with the same investigation, which had already resulted in the arrests of No Jumper co-hosts Brick Baby and Loose Cannon. The timing of this federal intervention couldn't have been worse for Adam22, coming as he was already navigating the financial collapse of No Jumper and the expensive lawsuit from former employees. The convergence of these crises created a perfect storm that threatened not just his business, but potentially his freedom. As news of the arrest spread through social media, reactions were mixed. Some expressed shock and concern, while others suggested they had long suspected Adam22's connections to questionable activities. One ex-user wrote, "Adam22 is involved in some sketchy stuff for sure," reflecting a sentiment shared by many who had followed his controversial career. The federal investigation appeared to focus on No Jumper's potential role as a platform that intentionally or not may have facilitated activities under scrutiny in the RICO case. This was particularly concerning given that No Jumper had hosted numerous individuals with gang affiliations, some of whom had subsequently been arrested as part of the same investigation. Prior to his own reported arrest, Adam22 had addressed the situation surrounding Brick Baby's arrest, vehemently denying any suggestion that No Jumper had contributed to the legal troubles of its associates.
I see a lot of people saying that 22 is the reason why Brick got caught up. Out of here. 22, you know what I do. I put people in position, put them on the podcast, give them jobs, help them make legal money. A lot of the that people are getting caught up for, especially with Brick, it's like, I'm not seeing anything that says anything about stuff that he's done in the last 2 years since he's been with us, right? So, you know, end of the day, I do employ people from the streets. And I guess, you know, people from the streets sometimes get caught up in federal RICO indictments, whatever the this is. And All I can say is that, yes, I may crack a joke here and there. Sorry, that's just my sick sense of humor. But end of the day, that's my boy. I'm standing with him. Luce, I got love for Luce too. We're going to be documenting this whole thing, helping him along the way, whatever it is. So anybody acting like this is because of No Jumper? No, No Jumper was the antidote to this bullshit.
In this impassioned defense, Adam22 portrayed No Jumper as a positive influence that provided legitimate employment opportunities for individuals from troubled backgrounds. However, this narrative was increasingly difficult to maintain as the federal investigation progressed and eventually extended to Adam22 himself. The broader context of Adam22's legal troubles includes his history of controversies and allegations that had long dogged his career. In 2018, he faced sexual misconduct accusations from a woman named Desiree Alida, which resurfaced in a Rolling Stone article describing a culture of exploitation at No Jumper. While these earlier allegations were separate from the current federal investigation, they contributed to a pattern of controversy that made the new legal challenges all the more damaging to his already compromised reputation. The reported federal arrest came at a moment when Adam22's financial resources were already severely depleted. With No Jumper going broke by his own admission and hundreds of thousands of dollars being spent on the lawsuit from former employees, he was in a precarious position to mount a defense against potentially serious federal charges. This financial vulnerability was exacerbated by the fact that Adam22 had recently invested heavily in his $4 million warehouse facility, which was now on the market as part of desperate cost-cutting measures. The timing couldn't have been worse, as he was attempting to sell a commercial property in a challenging economic environment while simultaneously facing legal expenses on multiple fronts. The convergence of these financial and legal challenges created a scenario where Adam22's options were rapidly diminishing. Unlike previous controversies in his career, he had typically weathered through a combination of denial, deflection, and the support of his substantial platform. The current situation represented an existential threat to both his business and his personal freedom. While Adam22 had maintained multiple income streams, including the reportedly lucrative Plug Talk podcast on OnlyFans, which some sources claimed earned between $200,000 and $500,000 monthly, these revenue sources were increasingly at risk as his legal troubles mounted. The potential of federal charges could threaten his ability to continue producing content, effectively cutting off his primary means of income. The severity of the situation became increasingly apparent as details of the federal investigation emerged. While WAC 100 had initially expressed optimism about securing Adam22's quick release, the complexity of RICO cases and the substantial evidence typically required for federal arrests suggested that Adam22 might be facing far more serious legal jeopardy than initially indicated. RICO charges are particularly concerning because they can result in extended prison sentences, with a conviction carrying a potential maximum of 20 years per count. Additionally, RICO cases often involve asset seizure, which could potentially strip Adam22 of any remaining wealth if he were to be formally charged and convicted. As news of Adam22's reported arrest circulated, the No Jumper community began to grapple with the possibility that their controversial leader might be facing not just financial ruin, but a lengthy period of incarceration. This stark reality transformed what had initially seemed like a temporary business setback into what could potentially become the definitive end of Adam22's career in hip-hop media. The combination of No Jumper's financial collapse, the costly lawsuit from former employees, and now the federal investigation created a perfect storm that threatened to completely dismantle everything Adam22 had built over his career. For someone who had risen to prominence through his ability to navigate controversy and maintain his platform despite numerous scandals, this convergence of legal and financial challenges represented an unprecedented threat. As the hip-hop community processed these developments, attention began to turn toward understanding what Adam22's potential downfall might mean for the broader landscape of hip-hop media and for the numerous individuals whose careers had been launched or enhanced through their association with No Jumper. For Adam22 himself, the situation had evolved from a financial crisis to a fight for his very freedom, with the threat of significant prison time looming over his future. The question was no longer whether No Jumper could be saved as a business entity, but whether Adam22 could avoid becoming another cautionary tale of a controversial media figure brought down by the very connections and content that had initially fueled his rise to prominence. The aftermath. The once mighty No Jumper empire, which Adam22 had built from nothing into one of hip-hop's most influential platforms, now lies in ruins. The warehouse that once housed his media operation sits empty, its contents liquidated to cover mounting debts. The majority of his staff has been let go, with only a skeleton crew remaining to maintain a diminished online presence. For Adam22 personally, the situation has deteriorated from financial distress to potential homelessness, with the threat of lengthy incarceration hanging over his future. The sale of No Jumper's $4 million warehouse, which Adam22 had once hoped would provide sufficient funds to stabilize the business, yielded far less than expected in a depressed commercial real estate market. The proceeds were quickly consumed by outstanding debts, legal fees, and settlement costs, leaving almost nothing for reinvestment in the business. What remains of No Jumper operates out of a small rented space, a shadow of its former self. The lawsuit from former employees Yuri and Riley, which Adam22 had initially dismissed as an extortion attempt, proved far more damaging than anticipated. While much of the evidence presented in court remained sealed, the legal proceedings reportedly revealed workplace practices that undermined Adam22's public denials. Faced with mounting legal costs and increasingly unfavorable rulings, Adam22 was eventually forced to agree to a settlement that further depleted his dwindling resources. Adam22's response to the lawsuit had been characteristically defiant, even after initial court proceedings had begun.
Well, let's just talk about the odd inclusion of Nicholas Hyams in this lawsuit. Let's talk about the fact that I was unaware until I saw this lawsuit that I was in a managerial capacity at No Jumper in any way, and I was able to determine hiring and firing, and I was a superior, as stated in the lawsuit, to Mr. Yakubowski and Miss Garcia. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's crazy.
Because I was today years old when I realized that. If I had known sooner, there probably would have been a little bit of different things that would have gone down. Now, with that being said, also,
bros.
Yeah, the biggest. I'm also a little bit confused about me when Yuri specifically invited me to his house.
However, this confidence eroded as the legal process advanced and the financial impact became increasingly severe. The hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees that Adam22 had initially projected proved to be a conservative estimate, with the actual costs far exceeding his already strained resources. Meanwhile, the federal investigation connected to the RICO case involving Eugene Big U Henley has continued to cast a long shadow over Adam22's future. While details of the investigation remain largely confidential, sources familiar with the case suggest that evidence gathered from No Jumper co-hosts who were previously arrested has potentially implicated Adam22 in activities that extend beyond simply providing a platform for controversial figures. The reported arrest in March 2025, which WAC 100 had optimistically suggested would be brief, turned out to be just the beginning of Adam22's entanglement with federal authorities. Although formal charges have not yet been made public, the continued investigation has effectively paralyzed Adam22's ability to rebuild his business or generate significant new income. Even Adam22's other ventures, which had previously provided financial insulation from No Jumper's troubles, have begun to falter. The Plug Talk podcast, once reportedly generating between $200,000 and $500,000 monthly on OnlyFans, has seen subscription rates plummet as Adam22's legal troubles mount and new content becomes increasingly sporadic. The cryptocurrency scandal from February 2025, labeled a pump and dump scheme by critics, has further tarnished his reputation and potentially exposed him to additional legal scrutiny. The culmination of these financial and legal troubles has left Adam22 in an increasingly desperate situation. His estimated $4 million net worth from early 2025 has been decimated by legal fees, settlements, business losses, and the collapse of his various income streams. Reports suggest he has been forced to sell his personal property, including his home, to cover mounting debts and legal expenses. For a figure who once wielded significant influence in hip-hop culture and lived a lifestyle of luxury documented across social media, the reversal of fortune has been stunning. Former associates describe Adam22 as effectively homeless, staying with friends or in short-term accommodations as his resources continue to dwindle and the threat of federal charges looms ever larger. The human cost of No Jumper's collapse extends beyond Adam22 himself. Numerous employees who depended on the platform for their livelihoods have been forced to seek alternative employment in a challenging media landscape, while some, like Flacco, had expressed willingness to continue with No Jumper regardless of compensation. The practical reality of the company's dissolution has scattered its once cohesive team.
Right, bro, I would do No Jumper for free if I was, you feel me, right? Like, I would do it for free, right? Like, bro, like, that's how much value I see in No Jumper, right? Bro, I moved to LA to do No Jumper for free, right? I literally moved here to do No Jumper for free. And then I was offered a contract when I was at my lowest, and No Jumper gave me something that was really great, and I grew with the company, and now I'm currently in a position where I employ other people myself. So yeah, man, you know, this really don't really change anything. We'll still be there. I'll still be there. You feel me? Rather it's I'm being paid $500K a year or I'm being paid $0 a year. You feel me? I'm here. You feel me? You know, those are my guys I'm rocking out, man.
Despite such loyalty, the financial realities have made it impossible to maintain even a core team. What remains of No Jumper's operations is a skeleton crew attempting to produce content with dramatically reduced resources while navigating the ongoing legal complications surrounding their founder. The collapse of No Jumper has created a void in hip-hop media that other platforms have quickly moved to fill. Former No Jumper hosts who left during the March 2023 exodus, including AD, have established competing podcasts and media operations that have gained traction as No Jumper's influence has waned. This redistribution of talent and audience has fundamentally altered the landscape of hip-hop media, ending the centralized influence that No Jumper once wielded. For Yuri and Riley, the former employees whose lawsuit contributed significantly to No Jumper's downfall, the outcome has been mixed. While they reportedly received a financial settlement, the prolonged legal battle and public scrutiny have taken their toll. Yuri's streaming career, which was already struggling before the lawsuit, has not recovered, and both former employees have largely withdrawn from public life following the conclusion of the legal proceedings. The community that once surrounded No Jumper has fractured, with fans dividing their allegiance among various successor platforms or abandoning the space altogether. Reddit discussions that once centered on supporting or criticizing No Jumper now frequently devolve into debates about Adam22's culpability in his own downfall, with some expressing sympathy for his plight, while others view it as deserved consequence for years of controversial behavior. As for Adam22 himself, those closest to him describe a man struggling to come to terms with the rapid disintegration of everything he built. From a position of influence and relative wealth, he now faces potential homelessness, with his remaining assets at risk of seizure should the federal investigation result in formal RICO charges. The prospect of significant prison time hangs over his future, transforming what began as a business failure into a potentially life-altering legal nightmare. The potential for a federal indictment remains the most serious threat to Adam22's future. RICO cases typically involve lengthy investigations before charges are filed, with prosecutors building comprehensive cases that are difficult to defend against. If formal charges are brought, the potential penalties could include decades of imprisonment, especially if Adam22 is connected to multiple counts or activities specified in the RICO statute. This dire scenario represents a striking fall from grace for someone who was once described by Rolling Stone as underground hip-hop's major tastemaker. The No Jumper platform, which had provided a launching pad for numerous artists and personalities, now exists primarily as an archive of past content, with new productions limited by both financial constraints and the legal cloud hanging over its founder. Industry observers note that Adam22's downfall serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of rapid expansion without adequate financial planning, the risks of operating in legally ambiguous spaces, and the potential consequences of creating a workplace culture that generates employee grievances. What began as a BMX blog before evolving into a hip-hop media powerhouse has now been reduced to a cautionary footnote in the history of internet culture. For the hip-hop community more broadly, the collapse of No Jumper represents both a loss and an opportunity. While the platform had undeniably provided exposure for emerging artists and alternative voices, its controversial aspects had also drawn legitimate criticism. The diversification of hip-hop media that has followed No Jumper's decline may ultimately create a more resilient and less centralized ecosystem where multiple platforms share the influence that No Jumper once consolidated. As legal proceedings continue and the full extent of Adam22's potential criminal liability becomes clearer, the hip-hop media landscape continues to evolve in his absence. Former colleagues and competitors have stepped into the void, launching new platforms and initiatives that build upon aspects of the No Jumper formula while attempting to avoid the controversies and legal pitfalls that contributed to its downfall. The possibility of a comeback for Adam22 seems increasingly remote as his resources dwindle and legal troubles mount. Unlike previous controversies in his career, which he typically weathered through the strength of his platform and loyal audience, the current combination of financial ruin and potential criminal charges presents obstacles that appear insurmountable. Even if he were to avoid significant prison time, the financial devastation alone has effectively removed him from his position of influence in hip-hop media. This grim reality is reflected in recent social media activity, where Adam22's previously constant presence has become increasingly sporadic and subdued. His last post on X before his reported arrest on March 26, 2025, expressed support for incarcerated associates, stating, "Free Crip Mac, free 4 extras, free Brick Baby. Really missing all my Crips today." An eerily prescient message given his own subsequent legal troubles. The few remaining loyal staff members at No Jumper have attempted to maintain some semblance of the platform's former output. But without Adam22's central presence and with dramatically reduced resources, these efforts have largely failed to retain the audience and influence the brand once commanded. Viewership has plummeted across all platforms, with monthly totals now a fraction of the 25 million views No Jumper once generated across its YouTube channels. For hip-hop artists who once viewed a No Jumper interview as a critical milestone in their career development, the platform's collapse has eliminated a significant promotional opportunity. While alternative outlets have emerged, none has yet achieved the combination of mainstream visibility and underground credibility that characterized No Jumper at its peak. This has created a more fragmented promotional landscape for emerging artists, requiring them to navigate multiple smaller platforms rather than focusing on a single high-profile appearance. The legal fate of Adam22 remains uncertain as federal investigators continue building their case. Sources familiar with RICO prosecutions note that such cases typically involve extensive evidence gathering and can take months or even years to result in formal indictments. This prolonged uncertainty has left Adam22 in a state of limbo, unable to effectively rebuild his business or reputation while the threat of serious charges looms. Some have drawn parallels between Adam22's situation and earlier cases involving influential hip-hop media figures who faced legal troubles, such as DJ Academics and Taxstone. However, the combination of financial collapse and potential federal charges makes Adam22's predicament particularly severe. Unlike others who maintain sufficient resources to mount robust legal defenses, Adam22's financial ruin has left him with limited options for fighting potential charges. The remnants of Adam22's personal wealth have reportedly been depleted by a combination of legal fees, settlements, business losses, and the collapse of his various income streams. His once estimated $4 million net worth has evaporated, leaving him effectively destitute and dependent on the goodwill of friends and former associates for basic necessities. This dramatic reversal of fortune represents one of the most stunning falls from prominence in recent hip-hop media history. And if you enjoyed this video, click the one on your screen now for more.